the potential to go in a new direction or deepen into a current one. How do you want to express yourself uniquely? Not wanting to be interfered with, being yourself without caring what anyone else thinks. These are all questions and pressures that this cycle of the Human Design Weather for May 3rd to 9th, 2025 will bring. Hello, hello. I'm Margot Fraser, your guide through the cosmic weather. As a certified human design professional and intuitive coach, I'm here to help you know, live, and love the magic of your true nature. In this podcast, Human Design Weather or Not, we explore the conditioning influences of the planetary motions, the transit field. You can't avoid the conditioning pressures. You'll likely notice their effects playing out around you, but rather than you reacting and being pulled off track, this awareness will empower you to navigate the cycles, staying true to your authentic nature and taking advantage of opportunities when correct for you. Okay, let's get into the weather. And I just want to mention I managed to scratch the white of my eye a few days ago. So yeah, it's not painful, but all the blood is kind of in the white part of my eye. So hopefully I'm far enough back here that you're not going to have to look at that. Yeah, it's not pleasant to look at, but it feels fine. Should be gone in about a week. All right. So this cycle begins on May 3rd at 4:38 a.m., going until May 9th, just after midnight, 12:03 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time. UTC, that's 10:38 a.m. on May 3rd that it begins, going out at 6:03 a.m. Remember to convert that to your own time zone so that you know when it starts and ends for you. We always start looking at the sun earth positions because that's 70% of the conditioning field. We have two individual traits that are being activated in this cycle, which have the potential to bring through a pulse of knowing that could be mutative and empowering. Both our Sun Earth gates are in the G center, the diamond shape in the center of the chart, which is about love, identity, and direction in life. The Sun has moved into gate 2, the gate of higher knowing, the receptive. Its keynote says receptivity as the primal base through which any response is determined, the root of action. Responding inherently and fundamentally means that you're taking action out of some kind of information that you've received. It's the root of action, but it's not the action itself. Here, it's the receiving and setting the direction as an individual for your response, for your potential action. There is the potential with this of knowing of your direction. This is the most yin, the most receptive of all the gates. This is a trait that transforms mutation from a pulse of knowing into a direction. In human design, this is the seat of what we refer to as the driver of yourself. And I don't mean driver in terms of mental motivation here. I mean the driver, like the driver of a car, the built in mechanism that moves you along your fractal, your path in life. Gate 2, the receptive, is the direction, but there are other gates in the G center that provide the perspective. So the drivers driving the car, driving your vehicle, your body along, looking out the window. Well, gate 7 is looking into the future. What's ahead way out there on the road? Gate 13 is looking into the past. It's looking into that rear view mirror. Where have we come from? And gate 1, which we'll see as our earth position, is about staying in the present, just looking at my hands here in the now. Our direction as a totality is rooted in this trait. It's the root of our evolutionary action. At its root, our direction is towards harmony and beauty, whatever that is for each of us. And so there's an opportunity in this cycle where you might receive a pulse of knowing about your unique direction. You may be drawn more to things of beauty and harmony. It could happen that you thought you were going in one direction and the pulse comes through, and now you're going in another. Just a reminder that you need to move anything that comes in, any knowing that comes in, through your own strategy and authority to make sure that it's really correct for you. Also, just because you may know your direction, it can take time to be able to act on it. The fuel for your direction comes from gate 14 in the sacral center. If you don't have that in your design, you got to be patient. You are going to get gate 14, that trait, that energy that it brings to feed that direction. It's going to come in through the transit field, through another person that you meet as your auras come in contact with each other. So the caution here is being impatient. The direction comes through in a pulse of knowing in the now, and you have no control over when that pulse will come through. So patience. If the ego gets involved and you try to will yourself to go in a certain direction, right? How many of us, we look back at our life like we're trying to go in the direction that maybe our parents set for us, or that we thought, in society, this would be a good direction to go in. This is the ego willing you to go in a direction that might not be aligned for you. So if the ego's thinking that, yeah, I'm in charge of the direction, it's not likely to go well in the end. Probably going to result in some frustration, anger, bitterness, disappointment, depending on your human design type. What this says is your direction arises out of the present moment knowings that move through you and then through your strategy and authority. The earth has moved into gate 1, the trait of self-expression, the creative. Its keynote says creation as a primal force, the energy potential to manifest inspiration without limitation. Individual traits, again, they operate in the now and they bring through something unique. So there's no limitations, there's no boundaries to the potential that's here. At the same time, it is only potential. To actually manifest that potential is going to require a lot of things to come together. So once again, patience. This is the individual perspective, the individual, unique, and creative action that comes out of the direction of gate 2, that receptive. While gate 2 is the most receptive of all the gates, the most yin, gate 1 is the most yang or yang, the most active. The opportunity here is to express yourself uniquely. That is creativity. And it's an expression of your direction. There is nothing competitive in this trait. It's not about being the best. There can't be any best. There can't be any comparison when it's something new, when it's something unique that's coming through. The foundation of this trait is that creation is independent of will. True creativity comes through in a pulse, and it comes when it comes. Again, you don't have any control over when that pulse is going to come through. The caution here is, once again, you cannot will true mutative creativity to happen on demand. It doesn't work that way. And it's going to be incredibly frustrating if you try to do that. Patience, patience, patience. Well, when we look at these two traits together, they can help you to express yourself and your direction in life in your own unique way. Being individual, they're going to bring a pressure to be present. Individual traits also carry the potential to drop into melancholy. So gate 2, the receptive, could drop into melancholy that you'll never find your direction, or that your direction, but things aren't moving fast enough. Come on, let's get on with it. Gate one, the creative could drop into melancholy that, yeah, you just don't have any creative inspiration or that people don't see your uniqueness. If that happens, do your best to channel that melancholy into creative endeavors, and listening to music that you're in the mood for could also be helpful. All right, let's move into looking at the channels being created this cycle. When the transit field creates a channel, everyone that doesn't already have it in their charts are receiving the activation of the related traits and qualities. So there's a big impact there. We have one medium term channel that will be coming to completion. It came in last cycle. It's going to complete early this cycle. And then we have one that's here for the full cycle. So let's just finish up with what came in the last cycle. That was April 30th, but it's going to go out on May 4th at 10:12 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time. It'll come to completion at 4:12 p.m. UTC. Mercury moved into gate 51, the trait of shock, connecting with gate 25. It's electromagnetic, the trait of the spirit of the self, of innocence and universal love being activated by Neptune. This is connecting the ego center, the willpower center, to the G center. It's an individual channel that can bring through that pulse of knowing of what leap to take into the unknown, to stretch yourself. This is the channel of initiation, a design of needing to be first, but first for yourself. Again, individual channels, traits, they're not here to be competitive. They're here to be unique and mutative. So it can support you in coming more deeply into yourself. It's part of the centering circuit. When you're centered in yourself, it means you are more deeply into yourself. You're accepting yourself as you are. And that's an opportunity that this channel brings. There's also an opportunity it brings to be able to adapt to shocks that might come in. The caution, though, and what we most often see in the not self world is because the ego is involved there, is being competitive with others. Who's trying to be the best? And it's totally what this channel is not about. Stretch yourself is what it's saying. Okay, let's look at our next channel. It's going to be here for the full cycle because that Earth's position in gate 1 is connecting with Uranus position, gate 8, the trait of holding together, of contribution. That's creating the channel of inspiration, a design of a creative role model. As part of the individual circuitry, we've talked about this, it can bring something new and mutative. And if you have this channel in your design, part of your essence is to be a living example of uniqueness. This channel operates in a pulse of creative inspiration that, once again, you have no control over. This is something new. It's not the continuous improvement and refinement that you see in the tribal and the collective circuitry. It's rooted in the knowing that true creative inspiration is independent of will. It comes when it comes. It brings the opportunity to share your uniqueness out into the world. Individuals being themselves in their own unique way. This is what this is about, and not caring whether anyone follows you or not. It's just you being your unique self. The caution here is that there can be a fear of rejection. That trait 8, that gate 8, holding together, contribution, it wants to contribute that unique spark to the tribe, to the collective. But yeah, fear of rejection can be there. And that could have you holding back. There could also be a blurting out of your creative expression in some way when it hasn't been invited. In that case, it's more likely to be to the wrong people at the wrong time, and it's not going to be recognized, which is, yeah, disappointing and frustrating for any of the individual traits like this one in particular. I mean, this is manifesting that unique expression out into the world. It's here to be recognized ultimately, but if you're not following strategy and authority, it's not going to be to the right people at the right time. All right, we've got two channels being created by the transit of the moon. So these are just little tasters, little samplers. The moon only activates a gate, a trait for about 10 to 11 hours, give or take. So yeah, it doesn't have a huge impact, but we'll go through them just in case you notice these coming through these frequencies. So the first one comes in May 4th at 5:48 a.m., going until 4:43 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. UTC, that's coming in at 11:48 a.m., going until 10:43 p.m. We have the moon moving into gate 7, the trait of the role of the self in the G center. That's connecting with its electromagnetic gate 31, the trait of influence in the throat center, being activated by Mars. This creates the channel of the alpha, a design of leadership for good or bad. This is part of the collective logic circuitry that's sharing the patterns, the formula to carry us into the future. Hopefully, reliably. If I do this, I'm going to get this outcome. And this is a place where those trends, those patterns can be shared and used to guide and lead others. So the opportunity it brings is to express leadership qualities and be able to guide others in some way. The caution is that your leadership needs to be supported in this case. It can't be forced to be accepted. And if the patterns you think work haven't actually been experimented with enough to see that they're truly reliable, you could end up leading others, or others could lead you, if you're in the follower role, down a path that isn't of value and towards a worse instead of a better future. The other channel we have being created by the moon is the channel of mating. So on May 5th at 1:55 p.m., we have the moon moving into gate 59. That'll be here until May 6th at 12:51 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time. UTC, it's coming in May 5th at 7:55 p.m., going out May 6th at 6:50 a.m. Now, gate 59 is the trait of sexuality in the sacral center, and it's connecting with its electromagnetic. Gate 6, the trait of conflict and friction in the emotional center, the solar plexus center. That's being activated by the north node of the moon. This is part of the tribal circuitry and has a theme of mutual support. Now, this channel, the channel of mating, the channel of intimacy, of creative fertility, brings a pressure to reproduce literally and figuratively. It creates a frequency that's very penetrating and can open others to intimacy, or can be very uncomfortable to others and close them to intimacy. You might find that you're more open or more closed to intimacy when this frequency is activated. It does bring an opportunity for creative fertility and the potential for deeper intimacy. The caution here is the connection to the emotional center means that it takes time to really establish intimacy with another. The emotional center has its waves, right? It's emotional waves, the ups and downs of emotions. So whether that's at the level of a mate, a friend, a business partnership, it's just a reminder that it does take time to establish and ensure that there's a good fit there. In any relationship, there's likely going to be conflict and friction. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. It can bring growth and evolution in the process of working through it. Or you might find out, yeah, this really isn't a fit and things are devolving. That brings us to our long-term transits. The long-term transits are created by the outer planets and the nodes of the moon. They're with us for a longer period of time, years in some cases. And so your not self mind, your shadow mind could start to think that they're part of you, even when it's not something that you have in your own design. We do have some shifts coming in this cycle as the nodes and a couple other traits are moving into new lines. Jupiter and Saturn are changing gates. So you'll see I've put in another column there of where these gates and lines are transitioning to as we move through the cycle. So at the beginning, yes, the column that you see on the left is what's occurring. But as we move through the cycle towards the end of it, it's going to be what's there in the right column. All right, the nodes, which have to do with our environment and direction, they're sitting in gates 36, the trait of crisis, and gate 6, the trait of conflict and friction. We were just talking about that. They moved into line 4 on May 1st. The North Node is about our perspective and our direction. What do we see when we look out into the world? That's the one that's sitting in the trait of crisis, gate 36. We also have Saturn activating this trait just at the start of this cycle, bringing its limitation, its consequences, but that's going to shift on May 4th. We'll talk more about that in a bit. Gate 36 is in line 4 called espionage. Some of these names are so interesting that Rod designated or labeled for these traits, but they are perfect. They often speak to the detriment. Line 4 just generally has its root in opportunities that it gains through one's networks. Fourth lines are very perceptive of others and want to know others for better or for worse. They just have to watch that they're also getting to know themselves. Now, even though it sounds ominous, espionage, in the exaltation, it says the ability to prepare for and anticipate decline, being that novice, going through the process of novice to experience through the accumulation of secret and privileged information. The realization that knowledge, both covert and esoteric, is necessary if one is to be prepared for crisis and change. So, through your networks, you may gain access to information that others don't have. And you can use that to help you move through the process of being a novice to gaining experience and all the change that happens with that. Now, the detriment is what espionage really speaks to for this line. It says crisis knowledge that is available to others for a price. So, having information that will help move through the process of change and selling it to others in some way to help yourself make it through the process or deal with the change. So, again, you have to watch with the fourth line that you're getting to know yourself as much as getting to know others. The south node of the moon has to do with what's in our environment. It's in that gate 6, conflict, friction, and line 4 for it is called triumph. It has a developmental theme that we learn as we mature that says a position of natural and unchallengeable power. This is really about getting one's emotions across to the other in that relationship. You can really do that here. However, the detriment is a lack of emotional control that is destructive in relationships. Fourth lines have a natural wave from kindness to meanness. So you may see both ends of that playing out while these traits are sitting in the fourth line. Jupiter starts this cycle in gate 45, the tribal trait of the gatherer. This is the tribal leadership trait and the only voice of the tribe. Now, think of tribe as the head of a family, the community leader, the business leader, the CEO of an organization or a company. It's the voice of I have, we have, I don't have, we don't have. It's sitting in line 6 called reconsideration with a developmental theme that says an outsider that can admit that its prior rejection was an error will generally be accepted into the gathering. In its exaltation, this is really the tribal leader that has learned over time through that developmental theme that individuals are really important to the health of the tribe by bringing in new genetic material, by bringing in the spark that they carry of newness. We've talked a lot about the individual traits since they're sitting in the sun earth positions. So this is the leader that empathizes with the plight of the eccentric nature of individuals and will say that, even though you rejected us or our ways, you've apologized and recognized the error of your ways, and it's okay. You can join us. Come on in. Now, in its detriment, though, it says, yeah, sure, you can come back, but you have to do things my way or our way. There's no place for your uniqueness here, for your difference. Remember, Jupiter can bring expansion, and it is in detriment here. So it can be an expansion of the loss of innovation that an individual outsider could bring. And therefore, there could be a deterioration rather than an evolution in that business, in that community, in that family. It could end up being stagnant. On May 6th, Jupiter is going to move into gate 12, also in the throat center. This is the individual trait of caution or incaution. Individuals inherently know that what they express is meant to be mutative. It's meant to be a spark of that something new. And the tribe or the collective isn't always ready to hear it. So this trait has a built-in cautiousness to it. Fundamentally, it may withdraw until the timing is right. However, in its detriment, which is what we're going to have when it comes in, so we had the 45-6 in detriment, moving into the 12 line 1 in detriment. Here it can be like this absurd level of withdrawal from emotional contact, making oneself really difficult to access in just this weird, overblown way. So we can also see the polarity of incaution and just blurting out the moodiness. It points to the emotional center. So it's meant to bring through feeling, moodiness. Yeah. But sometimes when it just blurts things out without following strategy and authority, it's not pleasant. It could be nasty. It could be in the down of the emotional wave. So that could be there as well. Uranus position is in that gate 8, that individual trait, also in the throat center of contribution, of holding together. We talked about that in the channel that's connecting with our Earth's position in this particular cycle. It's moved into line 3, which is called the phony. Now, don't take that as a negative. Individual traits in the throat have to find a way to be heard by the collective. So they might have to find ways to fit in. And this is the third line, trial and error. I'm not sure how this works. Let's try it this way, that way, right? Finding ways to fit in to look like the collective so that they can be accepted and then can share that individual contribution, that spark of something new. So there can be this adopting of a certain style, while at the same time in its exaltations about finding that balance to still maintain one's individuality. In the detriment, the style can start to take precedence over the individual contribution itself. And others will see through it and understand that, yeah, this individual, they're not part of the group, this collective, and they may not have the same opportunities to share that individual contribution. Neptune sitting in that gate 25, the individual trait of innocence, the spirit of the self, and universal love, or the polarity. It's in line 4, which has no polarity. It's in the exaltation, and it's something we learn over time. It says the true nature of innocence can be maintained regardless of circumstances. This is the spiritual warrior. Now, Neptune could veil this ability, but it could also unveil it and go into the depths, help you go into the depths of the unknown within yourself. We also have Saturn moving into gate 25 on May 4th and may bring limitation to being selfless or may bring discipline to staying in innocence. Note that we also have Venus sitting in gate 25 for most of this cycle. So, extra emphasis this cycle on universal love and maintaining that innocence of your individual spirit of the self while in the void of the unknowns in life. Pluto sitting in that gate 41, the trade of contraction and decrease, part of the abstract experiential circuitry. It's the gate of daydreaming and fantasizing about the next experience you want to have. It's the pressure to start a new experience, but this is how a new experience starts. So just daydreaming. What would I like to do? What experience would I like to have? Just a reminder that in the end, it does have to be something practical and of value in some way. Overall, later in the cycle, so looking at that column on the right of the planets there, one thing that stands out to me is we have very strong individuality. The Sun, the Earth, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, all sitting in individual traits. Individuality does not like to be interfered with. Right? That mutative spark to bring through something new. You can't be influenced. So there could be this feeling within yourself, or you might notice it more around you, of this kind of leave me alone, like don't interfere with me kind of quality in the air. Remember that for any of these traits, if you don't have them in your own design, it is just a pressure from the transit field. You can observe it playing out around you. You might feel it as it's moving through you, and you can learn from it. There's wisdom to gain there. But whether there's actually something for you to do with it has to be according to your own strategy and authority. Don't let the transit field puppet you or run you. This brings us to the end of the cosmic weather for this cycle. If you want to run your own chart, you can go to jovianarchive.com. And if you're new to human design and you want to understand the basics of the chart at a high level, what's the black and the red about, the different geometric shapes and so on, a little bit about the background of the human design system itself, you are welcome to grab my free human design basics mini course. It's at margotgfraser.com/human hyphen design. If you enjoyed this podcast, I would be very grateful if you would give the episode a like and consider subscribing. This could be a really great cycle for creative endeavors. Be open to any pulse that comes through with a knowing of your direction and creative inspiration. Just remember to put it through your own strategy and authority to ensure that it's correct for you. All right. Have a great cycle. Be kind to one another, and may you know, love, and live the magic of your true nature. Until next time, bye for now.